after traveling for 13 days, we're not entirely sure what time it is. Good evening, cult members. Welcome to the Pop Culture Cult. That was terrible. I'm Sean.
I'm Janice.
And this is episode 82 of the Pop Culture Cult. Now, for those of you who are listening on the podcast feed for first time in a while, this is going to be a new thing that we're going to add in. Our movie reviews, our TV time, and our big show we're going to start putting on the podcast SoundCloud page. For those of you who are already watching us on YouTube, first off, thank you for subscribing to the channel. And also, while we were gone, there was we crossed the 100,000 views mark.
Yes. Yay.
So yay! It only took us 2 years to get there, but that's okay. We also this is our 2 week. This is our 2 week anniversary. We've only been doing this for 2 weeks. We've done 82 shows in that time period.
That was a lot of shows.
Now, a lot of trailer reactions
Really
in there
tired.
too. Lots of editing. It's our 2 week
2 year.
2 year. Hi. It's our 2
year
anniversary this week. So actually coming up on Wednesday. So
Really? We
October
started on-
31st was the first the first one that I did by myself that kind of started the whole thing, and then you joined me the next week, and then we've been fumbling and stumbling and bumbling ever since.
2 weeks.
2 weeks for 2 weeks, telling you, lots of editing. We here at the Pop Culture Cult have been gone for 2 weeks. That's why I keep saying 2 weeks, is because we went on a little trip to the UK, and we're going to get into some of that because we did some pretty cool pop culture movie kind of based stuff.
We did.
Well, while we're doing all of this here for fun and to talk about movies and TV shows and cons and all that blah blah blah, we ask one little simple thing from you. Okay, two. One, we ask you to subscribe to the channel. It's free. It doesn't cost anything. You hit the little button. It changes colors. It's magic. It's awesome.
Yay.
And we also ask the other thing that we would like from you is if you're at a pub and you're
As you do.
and you're talking with friends or you're making new friends, say, hey, there's these two people in Arizona that somewhat know what they're talking about sometimes about movies and TV shows and cons and all that kind of stuff. You should see them. Talk about our page. Share it with others.
Release it out into the wild.
Let it go. Let it go.
No.
Let it go. Come on.
Stop.
No.
Stop.
She was with me for 2 whole weeks. And somehow we're still married. So yeah, subscribe to the channel, share with your friends, let them all know about it, and we have a whole bunch of stuff that's coming up, mostly movies in the next few weeks, starting with Bohemian Rhapsody on Thursday,
Yes.
which we're super excited about, and it's getting rave reviews from
Yep.
everybody already.
Yep.
That will be coming out Thursday night when we get home, and we'll do our very best not to do the sing-along version of that movie.
I'm not making any
I'm
promises.
not making any promises. So we're going to talk about our trip a little bit. We are not a travel vlog.
Right.
We are not Instagram travel models. Although we did
No.
do our modeling best with cocktails every day.
Right.
We did, if you follow us on Instagram and on the Facebook page, we did a beer selfie a day. And so every time we had a chance to stop and towards mid part of the day, we would stop somewhere at a pub and get a pint, use a bathroom, sit down for a little bit because we did a lot of walking, and we would take a selfie with the beer and then say where we're at. And that was kind of a fun little add-on to our trip.
Follow us around the map with beers.
Yeah. It was kind of a stupid like we started at the airport and when we were leaving Phoenix, and we just kind of went along with it and stuff.
Yep.
So we would talk about some of the stuff we did on this trip. We started off in London, and the hotel that we were staying at was in Waterloo, and about two blocks, maybe a mile down the road from where we were staying, was this little pub called the Black Prince. Now, the Black Prince is the outside of the Kingsman movie.
Yep.
with
And well, kind of the inside. They did some stuff.
they did
to
some
it,
stuff they did some rearranging and stuff. The if you ever go to the Kingsman, the Black Prince, to be part of the Kingsman lore, whatever, to use their Wi-Fi, the Wi-Fi password is Kingsman.
Yeah.
That's very important.
And there was a group of Asian people. I don't know what country
yeah.
they were from. The second time we went.
Yes.
And they reenacted the manners maketh the man
The
scene.
the door locking scene.
Door
It was,
The pub is full of locals watching football, soccer, and they're over there reenacting the scene and taking pictures, and it was funny.
we the first night we were there, we got there Tuesday afternoon. We did a little bit of stuff right around the hotel, and then we went over there, and we walked up to the bar, and the people sitting next to us were, when I was ordering drinks, they're all like, "You're Americans." We're like, "Yeah," and the guy's like, "Well, we're all from New Mexico,
New Mexico,
and
yeah.
we're going to school in Texas." I'm like, "Oh, that's cool. What are you doing here?" He's like, "We only came here because this is from the movie." I was like, "That was perfect."
Yep.
So that was cool. The people in there were really nice, but that whole place is like super tiny. That's not the smallest pub we were in.
No.
The whole time, but
No.
it was a locals pub, and it was cool. It was cool that they embrace it, but don't like throw it in your face that they were.
There's not posters all over the walls
There's
or
one poster in the back corner, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
so-
And their Wi-Fi password is
it's
Kingsman.
So there you go. So that was the first day. The second day we did a whole bunch of museums. The third day, we found the Tower of London and did the Tower Bridge and did all that stuff. And then that day they started the new Harry Potter wands exhibit at the Millennium Bridge. Millennium Bridge. It's a walk bridge over the river, and as you go over the bridge, you get to this walkway, and I can't remember what building it was leading it up to.
I don't know. It looked like some kind of government building. It
Something
was.
or other,
It
yeah.
had like the Capitol-looking dome, so
Yeah.
you're walking towards this Capitol-looking
Yeah,
building.
it was really cool, but they did 10 total wands, and they were all. It was Harry's wand and Dumbledore's and
Grindelwald's and
oh
Newt's.
my Newt's.
Newt's.
Thank you, Newt's and stuff like that. And they were like 15, 18 feet tall.
Yeah.
And they were doing a lighting ceremony, and they were raising money for J.K. Rowling's charity. Her
for orphans.
orphans. She was trying to eliminate orphans around the world.
Get rid of orphans.
Get rid of orphans. That was how she.
They had people scattered around, and they would approach you, and the girl comes up to us, and she's explaining the charity and that J.K. Rowling was trying to get rid of orphans, and we're like get rid of them, and she's like, no, I just eliminate orphans, and so we donated £5 and got a pin.
We got a really cool pin that you could only get if you donate to the charity.
Yep.
I actually saw a thing, advertisement thing that popped up on Facebook today for it.
Oh.
I was gonna bring it with us so I could show it to you, but it's really cool.
It's like they knew we were there.
But it was cool to see all the wands there, and we actually left right before the lighting ceremony. One, because there was a lot of people in that little walkway all of a sudden, and
Yeah.
two, we hadn't eaten since like breakfast.
Yeah, and had done a ton of walking.
Yeah, we
so
spent
we
like
were ready to sit down.
4.5, 5 hours at the tower, and that was only one of the 17 things we did that day.
Yeah.
But seeing the wands, and they have these stores everywhere around in the UK that we went to. They're called Boy Wizard.
Was that?
The Boy Wizard one. There was a bunch of those in Edinburgh.
Yeah.
Edinburgh. And there was a couple in the Shambles, which we'll talk about here in a second. But that tons of Harry Potter stuff. We went to 9 3/4. We tried to get a photo, but it just it was a Saturday.
Somebody turned the alarm off instead of hit snooze.
And so we had to rush to get there, and we took an Uber instead of taking a train, and then we got there, and there was a big old long line, and we hadn't had coffee yet. And then they were protesting Brexit, so that was all going on. And there's a dance competition on a Saturday at King's Cross, and so it was just like a cluster of people.
Yeah,
and
it was
so
a lot of people there.
It was a lot of people.
Yep.
But we got to see 9 3/4, which was kind of cool. Speaking of Diagon Alley, we went to York, and there's a ton of different things that happens in York. Bunch of Viking stuff that we were really interested in, which is the whole reason we went. But then we found the Shambles, and the Shambles is essentially what Diagon Alley is in the book.
Yeah, well, it was filmed there. That whole section where the boy wizard, and then what was the other shop? The shop that shall not be named.
Yeah.
And I think there might have been one more. So that whole alley was actually
in the movie
filmed.
Oh yeah, okay.
The Diagon Alley. That was
it's
filmed.
really cool. It's this really, really narrow, like 14th century
narrow with
marketplace.
tall buildings.
Really
you
tall
feel like
buildings
you're
and,
in a tunnel almost.
And it's maybe the width of a cart, maybe at sections, and the buildings kind of lean in on the alley. And
or they do this.
Yeah, there was some bowing and stuff. And we went in a pub. It's the oldest pub in York. It's the Shambles Tavern.
Yep.
And it's been there since like the 14 something or 15 something. It was like it was 14th, 15th century kind of thing. And so that was cool. Like we were walking down, we're like, this is where the inspiration came from. Part of the problem though was there was 8 million people in this little alley all having the same exact reaction that we were.
Right. And nobody's looking where they're going because they're all going, oh my God, this is awesome.
Yeah.
So
we went back the second day, which was Sunday.
No, Monday.
Monday. It was much better, much easier to get through there and stuff like that. But
Not
that
the
was
weekend.
cool. Like seeing the inspiration for certain things. We talked about this earlier. The clouds are so low. And so you watch Harry Potter and you're like, are the clouds really that low, moving that fast? Yes, they are.
Yes, they are. It's crazy.
And then we went to Edinburgh. And we did a couple different things there. The hotel that we were staying at was essentially on the road where they filmed a bunch of Infinity War stuff with Vision and Scarlet Witch and with Wanda. And so there's this long, curvy, uphill road. They actually filmed on that road, and we went up that at pace with our heads down, carrying luggage. It didn't go well.
We made it.
We made it. It was okay. But then we went back the next day and got to walk that section. And then Waverly Station, the train station that's right there at the same, like across the street from that little windy street, is where they filmed Captain America catching the spear and stuff like that.
Yep. And then the common, what was it? It's like the courthouse or whatever. The
commons.
Or whatever it was called is where all the stuff up on the kind of on the roof. Because the church was across the street, so they were up on the roof, and then the one guy throws Vision and he hits the wall. So all that was going on there. So a lot of that whole. When they said they were in Edinburgh, they were
actually were there, and we were actually walking on the same streets that they all walked on. That was cool. And then the last thing we did a tour of the Highlands. We went to Stirling Castle, and we went to a distillery. We went to Loch Lomond. Our tour guide was Rory, the tour guy.
I wanted to ask him if his last name was Pond. Are you Mr. Pond?
Are you Mr. Pond? But him telling the real story of Braveheart was really cool. We got to go see some of the actual locations and drive by some of the different things.
The Battle of Stirling Bridge, which was big in Braveheart.
Yep, and then Bannockburn, which was like across the street essentially. It was like everything's so close. You think they're so far away from each other, and they're like, "Here's Bannockburn." And they're Stirling. Wait a minute.
Wait, it took them like 3 days to get there.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
yeah, because they had like 10,000 men and horses and provisions
and the people and the wives and the concubines and the yeah. Getting the real story of Robert the Bruce and William Wallace and who actually was called Braveheart and all that stuff, and the real story was really kind of cool.
Yeah.
And then it kind of led into the conversation of the new Outlaw King with Chris Pine that's coming out on Netflix, which is looks really cool. So
Yep. And Rory said, out of the Scottish accents, the guy from Highlander, Christopher Lambert's was the worst, and then there was somebody else.
we could not remember who it
I couldn't
was.
remember who that one was, and then Mel Gibson, and then the 3 words that he heard Chris Pine say in the trailer was next. So he's 4th up on the list of the worst. So he's not the worst.
He's not the worst.
Or the 2nd worst, or the 3rd worst.
Yeah, it was the movie itself. We've actually watched a new trailer since we've gotten home for it because it comes out on the 9th. And we will probably be doing a movie review for that because since we were just there and everything.
Yeah, and the trailer it wasn't really a trailer. It was kind of like a
teaser or
yeah,
something like
but
that?
they
Yeah.
were talking about, it was in that, right? That they were talking about that it was one of the goriest.
Oh, that was with the Nerdist News. Dave. Dan. I'm going to go with Dan for right now. From Nerdist, actually went over to the press junket that was held.
Right,
And we
right.
watched that, and they were talking about how it's super bloody, and they were allowed to do that and stuff like. And so it was cool to be able to do kind of as we were doing the museums and the castles and some of the other stuff that we wanted to do. We were able to throw these different things in there, and that was.
And you didn't put down the Lego exhibit at Sterling Castle.
So it's kind of a pop culture thing. So we're at Sterling Castle on this tour, and we're going to the Unicorn Tapestry Room, and it's actually where they built they rebuilt this unicorn tapestry that was on the walls in Sterling
It's
Castle.
very popular. If you've ever seen pictures of the tapestries, that you've seen it.
So we were going to the room where they actually did the work on it and then showed the samples and stuff like that. We were really excited. That's part of the reason why we wanted to go to Sterling Castle was to see this. Well, we go to the room before it thinking that's where the display was. And we walk in, and there's this giant freaking Lego display. And this guy had this high-level IT job, quit, and is now a world-class Lego builder.
Yeah.
And he recreates historical landmarks.
Yeah.
And out of Legos.
Yeah.
So we had like Sphinx, Easter Island, the International Space Station, Sterling Castle, like all these different things. It was like, dude, I mean,
You go to a medieval castle and a Lego exhibit breaks
yeah,
out.
it was just like, hey, this is not what I thought I was going to see today when I woke up this morning in a foreign land, and so. But it was really cool. That was actually one of the more surprising, awesome parts of the whole trip and stuff. We have a whole bunch of other stuff that we'd love to talk about, but that's not what this show is about. And so we're trying our best to get caught up on everything that happened while we were gone. There's a lot of stuff that happened that we're just not going to talk about. Wonder Woman getting moved back 7 months is it's a story.
7 months.
Yeah, they moved it to June.
Holy crap.
Yeah, they have. There's. Okay, we're going to talk about it for a second. The date in June. Everyone. I think it's June of 2020.
Okay.
I think is what it is. It might be 2019. I could be wrong. I didn't do the research for it because I wasn't going to do the story.
Sorry.
We're going to go with 2020. They moved it to June.
Okay.
Okay. Actually, no. Anyways, so they moved it to June, and the date that actually was there was a held Marvel date, and everyone believes that was going to be Guardians 3.
Oh.
But Guardians 3 is on hold while they get a new director and they
Right.
deal with the James Gunn
Right.
bull and everything like that.
Right.
So Marvel pulled out of that date, and so now there's a vacuum in that hole. And from what I was able to hear and kind of catch up with a little bit today, they have a huge amount of faith in Wonder Woman 84. So if they have a bunch of faith in this movie, it moves it away from Joker, make it a summer blockbuster. They've got faith in it to do well. They move it away from the Joker movie because it would have been 2 months after the Joker movie came out. And so yeah, it moved it a bunch, and so.
Okay, but we're not going to talk about it.
But we're not going to talk about that. But we have been trying to keep up on some stuff, and I'm going to be incredibly honest. We didn't care. We barely watched TV when we were there.
No. We watched the news because that's all they show in pubs.
Right.
But other than that, we didn't watch TV.
Socialized with people and went to museums and stuff. So, so there's going to be some stuff that we're going to talk about that kind of maybe isn't a story and then maybe somewhat is a story. But the big one that happened towards the end of the last week was a streaming service by the name of FilmStruck. Now, we're going to be honest here and talk about the fact that we hadn't heard of this. I hadn't heard of it until they announced the cancellation.
Yeah, no.
And then I started going and doing a research. Well, it was a streaming service that hosted hundreds of classic art house indie foreign films, blah, 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 blah. And you subscribe to it like you would Netflix, hence streaming service. Like I have to explain that. And it was $10.99 a month. And they had titles like the Barbra Streisand, Chris Christopherson, Star is Born, and Dr. Strangelove, and the original Maltese Falcon, Ridge Over the River Kwai, The Secret Life of Walter Mitty, like really random arty kind of films.
Okay.
And it was $10.99 a month.
Yeah, that seems like a lot.
And that's a lot.
Because that's like what Netflix is.
Right.
So.
And they're putting out more original content than anything else right now.
This is stuff that you could watch on Turner Classics or whatever.
Right. Turner Classics was actually a partner in this this thing.
All right.
But they announced that they are going to cancel the service.
Yep.
And effective, I think they said end of November 29th. They are not taking any new subscriptions, and they're going to give out
vouchers
and whatever. We had tacos for dinner. We haven't had tacos in like 2.5 weeks. So is this like it's sad that it's happening, but it's with all the other streaming stuff that's out there already and the stuff that is coming. Is this like kind of the wave of the future where you're not going to be able to like is this the first casualty in the streaming wars? I mean, it's got to be, right?
Well, like you said, we didn't even know it was out there. And honestly, maybe how many other streaming services like this are out there? I mean, if you'd asked me 2 days ago before I heard this story, if there was a streaming service for classic movies, I would have been like, no.
Right.
You know,
there was that horror one that was out for a little while. The what was it called?
Yeah, I think I remember that.
Scream service or something like that. Something like that.
I mean, yeah, you can't compete with Netflix and Hulu and Amazon. I mean, in my opinion, Amazon needs to step up their game, and it looks like they are, sounds like they are, but I think Hulu and Netflix are starting to leave Amazon behind.
Well, Netflix is leaving everybody behind right now.
Yeah, Hulu's
Hulu's probably second, and Amazon's probably third right now.
Yeah,
but Netflix is.
Hulu's got a different thing too, right? Because they've got some live TV and then some watch it the next day stuff. Yeah. So you can actually kind of replace your cable with Hulu. Amazon has, I guess, the you can, if you want to watch something and it's not on Amazon, you can rent it right there.
Right.
So that's convenient, and you can buy stuff and watch it right there. So it's kind of a one-stop shop for that. But so they've all kind of got their little quirks. But yeah, like the CBS All Access, they are way behind the 8 ball.
They're way behind, and they're trying to do a bunch of new original content. They announced that they're going to do animated Star Trek comedy series called Lower Decks to try to bring in some more of that Star Trek. That's it's CBS leaning on a property that doesn't have the backing like Star Wars does or something,
Right, and they don't have, again, they don't have that other thing like Hulu does. And Netflix doesn't have. Netflix was have the DVDs sent to your home service to begin with, and they still, apparently there was like 1 million people that still have DVDs sent to their home.
It's the 21st century, people.
I know. You can go to Redbox right down the street. So they've all got something else too that either helped them get that's kind of how Hulu started too, was they were the watch it the next day TV streaming service. So I think that these doesn't FX have a pay service too?
Yes, FXX stream or what? Something like
FX,
that.
Yeah.
I don't know why you would like it at this point in time, unless you are what the DC universe is trying to do with the addition of the comics and the new content and stuff like that.
Right, and
adding
Disney
their old and Disney. Everything else, unless you're ready to play at that deep end of the pool, you need to come in with something completely different.
Yeah, I just don't know.
Or you're just going to get blown out of the water. Or you're going to get swallowed up by whatever is around you, right? Hulu or Netflix or something is going to come in. Netflix just announced, not to talk about too much TV stuff here, but since this is the movie part, but Netflix just acquired rights to stream Jeopardy stuff. So if you're not ready to play in those waters, you need to come in with something else.
Yeah,
and build
$1.99 a month for a while or something. I don't know.
And to be honest, I like the idea of going back and watching all these classic art house movies and stuff like that. But for the most part, I have 8 million other things I want to watch. Yeah. Going back and rewatching something or watching the Bridge over the River Kwai. I watched that when I was 12 and I didn't care. And now I'm like in my 40s and I still don't care. It's
if you're homesick and it's on Turner Classics, then you might watch it. But
there's too many options out there to just kind of have this thing around. So it was the big outpouring of like Guillermo del Toro complained about it on Twitter, and Ryan Johnson, the already directors and actors and stuff like that were upset about that. Well, okay, you're the ones paying the subscription, and the rest of us are trying to buy DC Universe.
Yeah,
or,
It must be nice to be worth millions of dollars, and you can pay for all these services that you're probably not even watching because you're never home to do it.
Right. So it sucks, but it's going to be an inevitability probably here in the next few years. We're to hear about new things coming in and old things dying out, especially with the streaming service war that's coming and all that stuff.
Yep.
Kathleen Kennedy reportedly confirms the Boba Fett movie is dead.
No shit, Sherlock.
Thanks. This is a story that kept popping up towards the end of last week. I'm sorry, it's not a story. Frosty broke this 2 months ago.
Yeah.
That they shelved everything outside
and the
of
internet
episode 9.
Flamed him.
And the internet flamed him. The reason I put it on here is to directly say, Frosty, you were right. Frosty Weintraub from Collider he made sure all of his I's were dotted, all of his T's were crossed, all of that. I mean, before he ran the story, people flamed him. Oh, by the way, he was right.
Yeah. And so all of you better go back and say, I'm sorry.
And say, I'm sorry. And the thing for me, at least, is as soon as they announced The Mandalorian, back up. I never wanted the Boba Fett movie.
Right.
Boba Fett is a secondary character, an awesome secondary character, and another storyline. If they were going to do the Underground and have him do a bounty hunter movie, and he's one of the bounty hunters, I'm all over that.
Yeah. But there's just not enough there, and I don't care.
Yeah.
where he came from and what he did, and
Yeah. The mystery of Yoda is what makes Yoda great.
yeah,
And the mystery of Boba Fett is what makes Boba Fett great.
yeah,
He's a cool costumed character with very little backstory. So you get to fill it in your headcanon all you want. So there was never need for a Boba Fett movie. Now we have The Mandalorian coming with the same kind of feel around him where you're not really sure where he came from.
Yeah.
Did he take the armor? Is he really a Mandalorian? Like all that storytelling process. You could throw Boba Fett into that
Yeah.
into that story part.
Yep.
But them like Kathleen Kennedy coming out saying, "Yeah, we're not going to do this." What? And people like I had to like talk people off the ledge today on Facebook. This was never going to happen.
right,
Here's the list of movies that were going to happen, and none of that's going to happen right now.
right,
There's a streaming service. There might be something there at some point in time.
right.
So, I wanted to bring it up to defend Frosty and to also like tell people like, give it
You're
a second.
going to get all of the Star Wars that you could possibly desire by subscribing to the Disney streaming service.
The Disney streaming service is going to change the game,
Probably, yeah.
and that's both good and bad. But for right now, you have to wait until it gets here to make huge judgments.
Yeah.
You have no clue what they're doing, so just calm down for a second.
Yeah. Yep.
So our main topic this week is going to be what HBO has done. Now, HBO's track record of handling intimacy within filming and sex scenes and gratuity and graphicness and all that stuff has been a subject that the internet has been enjoying to push. And a lot of people complained about how graphic the sex was in Game of Thrones and other shows that they were doing for a while on HBO. Then when the Me Too movement happened, HBO backed up a little bit from all of that. And then they were starting to film the second season of The Deuce. Now, The Deuce is a drama about the pornography industry in the late 70s, early 80s, with James Franco as the main guy on the show. And Emily Mead is one of the stars on the show, and she's okay with doing sex scenes and nudity and stuff like that, but she wanted somebody on set to be, for layman's terms, an intimacy coordinator.
Well, yeah. That's not what she wanted. That's the person's title. But what she wanted was, she felt like if she was uncomfortable, like, it's cold, or, just not necessarily awkward uncomfortable, just one of the things in the article I read about it was that the woman who is now the intimacy coordinator for the show, the Emily Mead, her character has to do a lot of scenes on her knees. She's a porn star, so you can
take that however you want.
Get from that as you want. And so she made sure she had knee pads, because being on your knees on concrete or whatever for potentially hours, because you're redoing, scene after scene after scene, like redoing these scenes. But Emily, as an actor, didn't feel comfortable just saying, "Hey, I'm cold," or "Hey, my knees hurt," because there are 50 other people on set whose job it is to get this done, and she felt like she was, being the, not stick in the mud, but just throwing a monkey wrench in the whole flow of, and so she didn't step up and say, "I need this," or, I'm uncomfortable, I'm in pain, I'm cold, whatever. So she went to HBO and said, "I want an advocate for me on set," and then they liked it so much that now they're doing it for all of
All
their
the shows. Yeah, David Simon, who is the director, showrunner for the show, was so like. From the article that I read today from Collider, you read from Hollywood Reporter, Variety.
I don't remember. It was it popped up on Facebook and I
And you just read the story from
clicked
there.
into the story. I don't remember where it was.
But he was like, "Why have we never thought of this?" Like,
Yeah,
like his
yeah.
point was like, "This is absolutely something that should have been done." And it's not. I don't fault directors and showrunners and people like that. They're worried about 8 million different things,
Yeah.
and they're trying to coordinate 70 or 80 people on set every day, and that's not including the actors.
Right.
And so, like they're trying to build sets and do things and get camera angles and lighting and all that stuff, and he's worried about all that stuff. And he also has to babysit make sure that the script is in the right place. So there's a lot of stuff going on. And so even he said in one of the things that I was reading that was like, why have we never thought of this before? This is a great idea.
Right. And you and I were talking about, like, could this be something that would be available, not an intimacy coordinator, but an advocate on set
Yeah.
for other things? And then we kind of went down a rabbit hole. We were talking about, well, you can't, the lighting guy wants an advocate, and everybody, and then you end up with 50 million.
Kind of what the unions are supposed to be doing.
Or your agent.
Or your
but,
agent, yeah.
then you just end up with way too many cooks in the kitchen, and it's a cluster. But watching, what was I watching? Was it TV Talk today? They had one of the guys from the Mayans on.
Oh yeah, okay.
And yeah, it was TV Talk from last week.
Right.
So they had one of the guys from the Mayans on. They did an interview, and he was talking about how they asked him, did you know how to ride a motorcycle before the show? And he said, yeah, but he had kids and got rid of it, and so he got it back. And apparently they did 2 premieres for the show. This also happened on Sons of Anarchy, so it's a Kurt Sutter thing. I don't know, but he's talking about how, like, they rewrote the script. They got rid of a lot of people and replaced them with new actors. Like, he was originally the vice president of the club, and now he's the secretary. So all this stuff got moved around. And he was talking about how they were doing in the first premiere, like, it was really intense, and they had this one scene where he was supposed to ride his motorcycle up, kind of turn, like really sharply, and zoom through these 2 poles that were really narrow. And he was like, is the bike even gonna fit through there? And I know I said I can ride, but I don't know if I can do this. And when he was talking, that popped into my head. I was like, he needed somebody there to go, wait a minute, is this safe?
Right.
But
that's what the stunt coordinator is supposed to be doing. But
he's not a stunt man.
Right.
So he's just given direction. You go up here, you do a hard turn, and you go through these 2 poles. And he's like, I have questions, but he's nobody really. So he's not going to say, I don't feel safe doing this, because he might lose his job or never get a, know.
And that's one of the things that, at least with this conversation, was it's nice to see that, especially HBO, who, like I said, people haven't really necessarily liked how they've portrayed things. I'm never going to fault them for showing sex and whatever.
If you don't like it, don't watch it.
Don't watch it, right? But this is a really good example of them, HBO, listening to what is needed now, and taking the steps to move forward, and that's another, like what you're talking about there, having somebody who has zero cred in the marketplace, in the industry, be able to come in and say, I'm not really comfortable with doing this. They're worried about keeping their jobs.
Yeah.
They're not. I mean, they've spent years and years and years to get a big-time lead in a show. You don't want to be the guy that comes in and says something, and the director's like, well, this guy's going to be hard to work with. And we'll
and then
write
you
him out
get
of the
labeled.
show. Right, and you don't want that. So you keep your mouth shut, and then you build up enough cred to come in later. I was listening to a podcast, and watching it, with Stephen Amell, who, when he started on Arrow, didn't have as much credit as he did. And so a couple of seasons in, he came in and said, listen, I have a kid. I want to go home. I can't be doing 19-hour days and then come in at, 9 o'clock call time when we didn't get done until 4 or 5 in the morning.
Yeah.
We need to have some break in here and stuff like that. And so having an advocate on set specifically for a woman doing sexual based stuff is a good step. I just hoping that it continues to be a conversation, a group discussion of making sure that they can make everything work for all parties.
Yeah.
The creative part and the performance part.
Yeah.
And make it all work and have that be able to move forward and do stuff, because movies and TV shows and stuff like that are a level of art. And sometimes in art, you have to do uncomfortable things.
Yeah.
To explain, to get emotion out of the listener, the follower, the viewer, the observer, whatever. And to do that, sometimes you have to do some stuff on film that is uncomfortable. And
Right.
so having this person in there was really, I was just, when you were telling me about it, and then I saw it pop up again today, and I was just like, that, yeah, it's something we want to talk about. I think it's I think it's a good industry thing. Let's see if other studios take the lead.
Yeah. Yeah.
The article that I was reading is the lady that got hired. She's the co-founder of Intimacy Directors International, and her name is Alicia Rodis.
Yeah.
And she is she's the intimacy coordinator for the Deuce, but she's teaching underlings so they can go to other shows and do stuff.
Yeah.
So that
and it was, I thought I'd read that it was a nonprofit.
Yes, it's a nonprofit.
Yeah.
So having that availability, it's just another tool in the toolbox for. It's super humid here, so
I know.
and everything's
Weird.
wet. So it was cool. Last thing we're going to talk about this week is the weekend box office. Now, I've been trying to avoid talking about the weekend box office because it just kind of feels like filler sometimes. But when there's stuff going on, like what's going on right now with the top 3 movies, I'm going to bring it up.
Okay.
Halloween won the weekend again. It made $31 million at a 59% drop from the previous weekend. It's made $172 million worldwide on a $10 million budget. I'm going to say that again. Their budget was $10 million. If they spent $50 million on marketing, and I know they didn't do that.
No.
There was some marketing to this. We saw some buses with the Halloween stickers on the side in London.
Yeah. And there's been some commercials, but I wouldn't say
Not
a ton.
And there wasn't a big push online.
No, it was I was thinking this was the one they sent everybody to Mexico City for, but that was the Nun.
That was the Nun. So they had a $10 million budget. Like I said, maybe they spent $50 on advertising.
Yeah.
They've made $172 worldwide in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And I don't care about seeing it. It's a scary movie. We've been over this in the past. I don't do scary movies. But everybody who loves Halloween and scary movies say that's really, really, really good.
Yep.
And I'm really happy to hear that because the people that were behind it did Pineapple Express. Let that sink in for a minute. You could do the hippie joint movie and nail remaking Halloween.
Yeah.
That's range, mofos. Mostly because Danny McBride's in it, so I have to say mofos. Stars Born is the little movie that keeps going.
Yeah.
It's made $254 million worldwide. Their budget was 36, and they probably spent maybe 100 on advertising.
Yeah, probably 100.
And so they're gonna do good. Spoilers: there's not gonna be a sequel.
Nope. This technically was a sequel. It's a remake.
It's a reimagination of.
It's a remake of a remake.
So
this
is
in
like the 4th
20
version.
years they'll make another one.
All right, and they were talking about a little bit of the back to the FilmStruck thing, having modern stars attached to movies is helping. Bradley Cooper's a big star, but this is all Lady Gaga. Lady Gaga's I think pulling a lot more people into that movie than
in the beginning when it first came out.
Yeah.
I would absolutely agree with that. I think that the stay power has been word of mouth of the non-Lady Gaga people like us who went and saw it. I told somebody today to go see it. They don't go see movies very often. They've got kids, and I'm like, if you want to go see a movie, go see this. It was amazing.
It's really amazing. Like, it's probably in my top 5 favorite movies this year.
And we're in this whiskey store in Edinburgh, and the Lady Gaga
the main
song came on, and we're like, oh my God, that's awesome.
Because most of the music there was all from the 80s.
Yes. Very infatuated with late 80s, early 90s music.
Yeah, it was weird. And Venom was third this weekend. It had a 41% drop from the previous weekend, which is still pretty good. It's made $508 worldwide. On a $100 million budget, that was mostly the CGI stuff, and they probably spent another $150 in advertising, maybe. There was tons of Venom stuff out there, so tons of commercials and posters and stuff like that. And so, but that for a movie that neither one of us were really high on, I think we might have to revisit it because it's doing so well.
I don't know, because I mean, I still hear a lot of mixed reviews. I don't know what it is. Like, people are like, they've got to go see it for themselves. Or I would be interested to know how much of that is domestic versus international.
I had it up. I might still have it up. Let me make sure. Are we still going? Okay. Hold on.
You don't have to do it.
It's right there.
All right.
187 domestic.
Okay. I mean, that's most of it was international.
Most of it's international, but some of these really funky ones like that. See, Transformers kept getting remade because it was making $700 million overseas.
Oh yeah,
so.
I mean, that's definitely, they'll continue on with it, right? The end of credits scene or mid credits scene that they tease is probably going to happen now, but
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually what they did, and that would make gets me all excited. The only other one that I really wanted to bring up in the top 10, okay, there was 2. Mid-90s is that.
Yeah, I saw that.
It went from 4 theaters to 1,200 theaters. It made $3 million. It's Jonah Hill's directorial debut. A bunch of people are saying it's really, really good. The kid's really good in it. It's right in my wheelhouse as a kid. Like, I'm going to have to see this.
And the kid is the kid from the house with the clock in the walls.
He is the friend, I think.
Okay, but he's in it.
He's in it.
Yeah.
And stuff. Okay. But the number that's on there is. It had a 1,054% increase from 1 week to that. That's what happens when you go from 4 theaters to 1,200 theaters.
Right.
But I definitely want to see that. But the one I wanted to talk about the most with the rest of the top 10 was First Man.
Yeah.
It's struggling. It's made $75 million worldwide. Like 68 million of that or 65 million of that is domestically.
Yeah.
It is a very well done historical movie with big name people in it, and nobody's seeing it.
Yeah.
And
I don't know. I don't know. There's nothing. Okay, being the first person to land on the moon is very dramatic. However, there's nothing dramatic. Like Apollo 13, there's, it's a very intense, because they make it, but you still, you're like, I don't know if they're going to make it. There's nothing, it's just a story. There's nothing
right.
big crashes or big, yeah,
Right,
you know.
It's the
so,
story of Neil Armstrong, and I've been
Yeah.
reading this. I got a Life magazine to read when I was on the train and stuff like that, and it's kind of the telling of Neil's story, but also the telling of First Man being made and
Yeah.
the kind of the stories that go around it and stuff like that. And it's it's from what I've read and everything. It's pretty faithful
Yeah.
to the book that was read about him and everything.
yeah.
And but I was watched Watch Mojo on YouTube thing, and they were saying why is it not doing so well?
Oh, I saw that, but I didn't watch it.
And they were saying like it's one of those Oscar movies that's gonna have legs for months and months and months and months and months.
Yeah.
It's never gonna be a big, huge, gigantic moneymaker, but it's still gonna be in the top 10 when we get to January.
Yeah. And I think that, it's not going to be something that does anything internationally because nobody internationally knows who Neil Armstrong is.
Right.
They just,
At least people younger than the generation that it affected.
yeah, but then, I mean, if it's not your country,
Yeah.
do you care? Do you get that patriotic rah rah, we went to the moon, because it was really at that point in time. I mean, we would like to think that today, and I think it is more of a world thing instead of a country thing,
right.
but at the time it was all a country thing. It was us versus
And
the
they dealt with
Ruskies,
that.
and
They dealt with that pretty well.
Yeah.
And they showed when Sergei, I can't remember his name, the first Russian in space, when they showed him like being in space, you could see they actually showed the scene of them, all the astronauts, like getting mad and throwing stuff, and it was a nice little touch and stuff. So yeah, it was definitely about the Americans versus the Russians at that point in time, and just it's a movie that it's one of those movies that we went and saw, like Upgrade. Like nobody saw Upgrade either, and Upgrade was amazing, and First Man was amazing, and so having that, having those movies, although I'm not this type of person, I knew Metallica before they were Metallica. I was a big Pearl Jam fan before you. I was the only one. I was in a little club in Seattle watching Pearl Jam, and Eddie Vedder was like giving me high fives and everything. And now they're so big, you guys don't know. Like we're gonna be those people when it comes to.
Actually,
you don't know, because I'm a Southern black woman all of a sudden. So that's our big show this week. I'm gonna end it on that note. So that's our show this week. What do you guys think of what HBO is doing? Did you watch FilmStruck? Were you part of the subscription service? And we're planning our next trip. So tell us what pop culture type thing you think we should go to. A con, a celebration, a site, whatever you think, let us know. Leave us a comment. You're already here. Subscribe to the channel, like the video, and get a hold of us on our social media network. We are on Facebook at Pop Culture Cult. We're Pop Culture Cult 1 on Instagram. We're at Pop_Cult 1 on Twitter. If you're on Twitter, I don't get it. Just keep going. And we're on the Stardust app. Download it for free. Follow us first. React to everything you're watching. And until next time, good night now.